Rastafaru. Greetings again, family. Sorry about that. That video got cut. But back to my point here. Now we're going to look here about the sons of Jah. Are of the righteous Ethiopian Negro, for black in Spanish, lineage of Zeth. And earlier stated, but let's take the Genesis approach to prove this. We all know that Satan's Gentile son, Cain, killed Jah's first righteous Negro son, Abel. Which in a lot of ways you could say was the first real hate crime. Because this Gentile, straight-haired, you would say, white person killed a righteous black man. And one of Jah. So it was like, it's like, isn't there a song by Sizzler? I think it goes, you kill a brother, explain to the Almighty, because if you hate a black person, you're hating Jah's original man that he created from the earth. And right here is the proof. I mean, a Gentile man, Cain, killed his righteous brother Abel out of hatred. And I say righteous son to put in proper context in place. Now let's read here. Genesis chapter 4, verses 3 through 7. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Jah. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Jah had respect unto Abel and his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Jah said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel and his brother. And it came to pass when they were in the field, and Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. Here in verse 7, we can see that the Gentile Cain followed the way of sin and ruled in sin, killing the only righteous Ethiopian son Abel. The New Covenant writings let us know that Abel was righteous as well. Matthew 23, verse 35. Then upon you may come all of the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zachariah, son of Bachara, whom he slew between the temple and the altar. So, again, the slaying of Abel was like the first real hate crime, because Cain was possessed by the devil, Shaitan, El-Shaitan, and killed this righteous man who is, of Jah, a man of truth. And again, as I was explaining earlier, is that to prove that, the black Ethiopian is of woolly hair, the righteous one that I showed in my video. Let's look at this, brothers and sisters. The Bible is about the original black man. Wool, the Ancient of Days, and his hair was like wool, and his feet of burnt brass, and his hair was white as wool, as the snow. And I looked on the thrones were in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow, and the hair of his head was white like wool. Because wool is like lamb's hair. It's like woolly. And his body was like chesed, his face, arms, leg looked like burnished bronze. Daniel chapter 10, verse 6. The only people that can have woolly hair are Ethiopian black people, because that's what wool is. Now, as I was showing you in the last vid of straight-haired, this is a straight hair. This is what straight hair looks like. This is, and I don't mean any offense to this person, but this is just for purposes of teaching. This is a straight-haired Gentile. See the straight hair? But the Bible, again, symbolically is not saying all straight-haired Gentile white people are bad and righteous, woolly, Ethiopian. No, there's good and bad, and this is more about spirit, because I deal with spiritual wickedness. But the spirit of unrighteousness is manifested in these pale people. Now, let's start here. This head start was well over 100 years before Jah appointed Sheriff Eve, another black righteous seed, in the place of the murdered Abel. This was Jah's seed, and it was the man called Zeph. Take note to the bolded words. And Zeph, despite the inexorable reaction to Cain's birth, Genesis 4:11, by this time Eve had clearly limited the spiritual difference between her sons, so we can see that this black seed Zeph is indeed Jah's seed, just as Ethiopian Abel was an even more vital in that Zeph, after he had his first son Enos, had begun to worship Jah. He was led by Jah's grace spirit, therefore he was the son of Jah. And that's interesting because that shows you that the lineage was brought and the seed was after Abel was murdered was through Eve, how they say it in Hebrew, and continued into the line of Zeph, which is the righteous sons of the Ethiopians. And now let's check this out. Now we begin to establish who the sons of Jah were. They were the Ethiopian black descendants of the lineage of Zeph. Here is the list of Ethiopian black-haired sons, whom are the same mighty giant men of renown that took the Gentile daughters of Cain. And this will get in, and I'll get into this in my next thing about mixed marriages and things like that and what Jah said. So again, brothers and sisters, give thanks and praise unto the Most High. Jah rest.